Then we tried to move the tusks. Of course, in Alabama, the Tuscaloosa, that's completely irrelevant to what I was saying. Oh, hey, we're on theme song.
Jesse and Bob are two dudes on the job to brighten your day while gabbing away on a pod. Forget your frown, let's see what's going down in Beachtown.
Whoa, yay, what is going on, Beachtownians? We are bushwhacking our way through episode 12 or 13. There is no way of knowing of the Beachtown Comedy Podcast. We are Jesse Egan and Bob. I am one of those guys. Jesse, what is the skinny? What is the deep dish? You're being hoodwinked, flim flam, shim sham, bamboozled. How's it hanging, man?
What's the scuttlebutt, my friend? What is the scuttlebutt? In fact, what is a scuttlebutt?
I don't know.
Okay.
That's when a dog wipes its ass on a carpet, I think.
Oh, that's the scuttlebutt. It's like, I got worms. I got to get the scuttlebutt on. I see.
You know, people get mad at dogs for that, but somebody had to teach them.
I get happy at dogs for that. I like watching some scuttlebutt action.
That's hilarious every time.
So how you feeling, man? Are you ready to get into some mental health today?
I suppose we are. Isn't there usually a cozy disclaimer that you give? Thankfully, because I always forget.
There is. Cozy disclaimer, which is that Bob and I are not, there's a spider on my screen. Bob and I are not spiders, and we're also not real therapists. So if you need actual help with your mental health, see a professional. Make sure to go and get some real counseling. There's online counseling. You don't even have to go in anywhere. But yeah, go make sure you take care of your mental health. But in the meantime, we're going to take a stab at it right now and do our best to be our own therapists. Right, Bob?
Absolutely. And be careful of that spider, because later on when we do at the theater, you will learn the hard lesson that if you do get bit by that spider, somehow it will disable your ability to deliver pizzas. And we'll explore that a little later on.
Oh, a little teaser. Very nice.
Indeed, you crazy cats, you rabid dogs, you wild savages. This is a mental health podcast that actually cheers you up. Why? Because every week we check in with you. We let you know how we're doing, and when you learn about our progress in comparison, you should be automatically cheered up.
Absolutely. Especially for the first 10 episodes we've done. They were all pretty much a downer as far as how we were doing. But we're slowly crawling out of the hole, baby. You know, we're like Daniel Day-Lewis and There Will Be Blood. He gets crushed in a mine shaft, and we drag our crushed, broken bodies out of that hole. And then go on to be oil men, I think.
Is that the one where he's like a president, but also the vampire?
Yeah, he's the last of the Mohicans in that one.
Right, yeah, because I saw the prequels when we covered the rest of the Mohicans.
He's also a great cobbler, but that's another story.
I think we've heard that other story. That's one of my favorites.
Hey, by the way, Bob, last week we put it out to the audience because we have a pretty wide audience now. We have, I believe, two of Bob's friends in Ireland, and that's it. And that audience we reached out to and said, "Can any of you guys throw out any of your mental health questions or anything that you want to submit for our consideration on the show?" And you told me that we got great news. We actually got some feedback, right?
We did. We have a question from Boba Hicks, the YouTube channel. Boba Hicks in Ireland. He has a question for you. You had mentioned Meowsy has a microchip in him. He has like a little GPS, and you have an application on your mobile device. But it works with satellites. I don't have time to explain how it works. But you use the application on your mobile device, and it lets you track the whereabouts of your feline pet. Is that correct?
Yes, well, it's two different things. So the cat is microchipped. That was before I got him. So when I rescued him, they already microchip him. So all of these animals that you get from a rescue place will have a little microchip in them that you can then scan with a device to see the owner is. It'll give you the information on it. So if you ever rescue a cat, I actually bought one of these scanners on Amazon, and you can, because we had when I lost my cat, we had so many people in the neighborhood think, "Oh, I think I see your cat," and eventually I had to just buy my own scanner, and you would check and see, "Oh, is this cat belong to someone? Is it mine? Whatever." So that's one thing. That's the microchip part, which is really just to check for ownership or something. Now, the thing that I bought is something called a whistle, which is a little device that you put on their collar, and
Right.
that syncs to the Wi-Fi and to your phone, and that acts as a GPS tracker for him. So you take it off, you plug it into the USB and charge it. And I have one for both the cats. So Pretty Boy, who never really leaves, he's not getting a lot of exercise on the tracker. But Meowsy, who goes a little bit, we let him out during the day, and then at night he sleeps inside. But it's funny, since he was missing, he barely explores the neighborhood the way he used to. He stays very contained, and we can see it on the map on the GPS. So, but the funny thing about this is that the whistle it's designed for dogs. It's really not meant for cats and I know that because when I bought it, it was like pet tracking thing. And then when it gives you little notifications on the thing, it'll go, Meowsy's almost reached his goal. Grab a leash and take him for a walk. I'm like, they think it's their dog.
Well, let me read this question because I think you're geared towards answering it right there anyway. Question for Jesse from Boba Hicks in Ireland. It's a country in Europe, Western Europe. I don't have time to explain.
Yes,
he
my
says
father's side of the family's from there.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Has there been less stress since you got your cat shipped? One of my cats often disappears for long periods of time, which can cause me a bit of anxiety. Was wondering if knowing where he goes would put my mind at ease. Have you felt less anxiety?
Absolutely, especially because he had less distance than he used since he came back. But getting the microchip was something that happened before I bought this G.P thing. And if he ever goes missing and they bring him vet or something, they scan for it and can tell who he belongs to. So I would definitely recommend doing both things. My two cats don't even notice that they're wearing this thing on the collar, this whistle device, and it is a pretty big square piece of plastic. They could make a little smaller one, but I give peace of mind when we're like, where is the look them right up on the device. You can set your little home base area in size, and so if he strays outside of that, it'll give you a little notification. So I like it a lot, even though it was mainly designed for dogs. But if you have an outdoor cat or an indoor, to have that and be able to track them. Microchip, I definitely recommend. If you have a pet, I would say make sure you get the microchipped. Bill Gates here.
There you go. I was just thinking, as a guy who has a certification in networking that is absolutely worthless. That's why I'm working in healthcare again. Technically, Meowsy has his own IP address. Just something for you to think about. He does.
Yeah.
You know, your router, your computer, all your devices connected to it, and your animal all have IP addresses.
I like to think there's a designated satellite just for Meowsy. And it's just circling around, checking him out. Sometimes it has to pause. But yeah, I hope that answers your question, man. And I appreciate the question. Not really a mental health question, but I still appreciate, and I will say, having a pet is great for mental health. I think having an animal to care about, having a cat to love on and to look forward to seeing is great. I saw a video of Tracy Morgan explaining what happiness is, and it was just having something to look forward to. And I thought, that's a good way to define it. And also, I think that's a great thing about having a pet, something to look forward to, And he wakes you up in the morning and makes you feed him.
Tracy Morgan does.
Every morning. Tracy Morgan jumps right on my belly. He nuzzles my face. He goes, I need wet food. And I go, okay, Tracy.
How'd you get in here, Tracy Morgan? So, oh my goodness.
Anyway, that was a great question. Thank you for that.
I can't take all the credit. Oh, you were thanking Boba Hicks. I
was thanking Boba Hicks, but thank you for reading Boba Hicks.
I did the best I could.
That's good.
Teach me. Oh my god! Before we jump barefoot, feet first into the grapes and make all sorts of mental health wine. Anything else new with you? Anything new with me? I don't know.
I just had a rough week with my diverticulitis, which it sounds like the biggest old man disease ever, and it runs in my family. Apparently, I found out my brother is also suffering from from it now. He's my younger brother, so he's
Oh,
got
Jesus Christ.
something to look forward to, brother.
Yeah.
But my grandfather had it, and it's just sort of this inflammation of the intestines, and this last week was awful. So certain foods and certain things just set it off, stress, whatever, and then it's like really uncomfortable. So I had kind of a tough week with that, and that can really be rough on your mental health, as you know. When you're sort of under the weather or hurting or injured, it's hard to do all these other things. It's hard to accomplish all your grapes to make you feel good. So it's almost like it's all on sabbatical. So
well, it is. I have my hernia. Speaking of old men injuries and problems, and that's bothering me, of course, because it has good days and bad. And I started looking up all these. I am jumping the gun a little bit. Who cares about different yoga for hernia, inguinal hernia, and little exercises and whatnot. And I'm wearing my hernia girdle and all that stuff. But one of the most exhausting things about it is all
and I
day
see
long.
You mention that a lot, by the way, on Twitter, which is always funny to me. It's like people will have some diatribe about life, and then you'll be like, I have to wear a girdle, and I'm like,
yeah. It's my favorite thing. Okay, so like a hot female wrestler will tweet. A hot female pro wrestler will tweet something about life and goals and manifesting dreams because she's hot or something, and you're like, you don't know that you're 23 and hot, and people give you what you want, you fool. But they will do that, and they'll be like, manifest your yada yada yada. You do this, believe in yourself, and everything else. And I just
go on there just to take the wind right out of those sails.
and I reply, I wear a girdle for my hernia. The jokes on me. No one cares. They don't reply. No one gives a shit.
I read them always.
Yeah.
You on Twitter is like the opposite of our podcast. You're demotivational. I almost unfollowed you the other day when I went on Twitter, and all I see
what I do
is in all caps. Your tweet is, "We're all gonna die," and I'm like, that is not helping. Well, I think I replied to you. Stop reminding me. And
you did. Yeah. You were very unhappy.
So, but if anyone wants the opposite of our Grapes podcast, just follow Bob on Twitter, Bob Hanson Jokes.
Yes, and, I've never done that from the Beachtown comedy Twitter.
Good.
I've never done
definitely
that. But
counterproductive.
My personal social media is my own, and I like to weigh in on the big issues.
Yeah.
Well, what's the difference? Here's the thing. What's the difference between me tweeting that and everybody else fighting? Since we've last done this episode, we've had the Texas abortions. That's a really an interesting. That's a weird
funny way of saying that.
That's a weird way of dumbing down that issue. We had the Texas abortions, more anti-vax fighting, more COVID, anti-mask fighting, this fighting, that Afghanistan. So me tweeting that isn't anywhere near as depressing. Me tweeting that once every couple of days for shits and giggles is not anywhere near as depressing or negative or counterproductive as everybody else doing that 14 times a day.
I mean,
it's Twitter not nearly as bad.
Twitter is a nightmare escape of hatred, and
it's easy.
You can't put anything on there without getting flack. But even a little. I think I wrote a joke as soon as it came out. It's Joe Rogan's using ivermectin. I wrote a one sentence thing of, oh no, Joe Rogan has worms. And, I got so much crap for that. Like, this is a one sentence joke, which I think is very innocent. And everyone's like, I'm like, are you guys all like ivermectin salesmen now? Like, what the hell? What is your investment into this issue that you can make this a political thing and you even give a crap? I got, just like, I don't know. I feel like you can't. It's hard to tell a joke about anything
you're not
in politics without it being totally polarized and making a bunch of people really angry.
It's worse than that. It's not just that you can't tell a joke about anything half political. It's that you can't make a joke without everyone else making it political.
Yeah, joke. I wasn't even making it political. I just thought it was kind of funny that it's like, I said, I wake up, he's taking this thing. Oh no, he must have worms. That's a funny reaction. People can't even take that one thing with just like a little sense of humor. It's got to be a whole thing about The media, get. I'm like, I don't give a crap about that. You know, do you remember jokes? I remember what Facebook was like when we first got on. It was a bunch of, it was this lighthearted place where people will put their little things and get little likes. And now it's like a freaking, it's a horror. It's a horror escape. Anyway,
I saw that on Facebook where you had posted the Joe Rogan thing, and I saw, because I never see like 100 comments, and the thing is, they're hidden. When you see that come up, they're hidden.
I start threatening to delete them because people are fighting each other. I'm not even commenting. People are literally going, "You're a moron. You're and they're getting real personal and nasty. And I'm like, can you guys go fight elsewhere? I don't know if there's some like a Reddit thread you should be on. This is not. I don't know. It's
almost like,
did you read the original thing I wrote? Like, what is going on?
It's almost like with Facebook. It's like, you ever invite a couple to your home and they have a fight or an argument or unpleasant at your own place?
So uncomfortable.
It's like that, but with, instead of one couple, it's 400 strangers.
Yeah. And then you got to police it and be like, hey, be civil. Stop.
Let it go. No, let it go.
Stop with the name calling. And then the guy's doing all the name calling. It's like, I'm not doing any name calling. And I'm like, oh, what is going on?
Now, see, wouldn't it have been more productive if all those people, and you have to get notifications for that bullshit too.
Yeah, I turned those off a long time ago.
Wouldn't it have been more productive if, instead of you getting 140 of those, you just scroll and you see one person tweet or post, "We're all gonna die"? Like, isn't that so?
Oh, they're both bad. I hate them both. I think they both make you lose all faith in everything. But like, my feeling was like, I remember the days when you would post something and I would post a pun, and then we would have a pun off, and it would just be this long thread, and other people would jump in, and it's like people are literally just writing pun, and that's kind of what I expected. It was like, oh, I'm gonna get a bunch of worm puns and stupid jokes. No, it was hundreds of arguments and really vicious fighting. And I'm like, I don't know why you're so invested into this, to be honest. But
because everyone thinks the world is the Yankees and the Red Sox. For half of them, Rogan represents their side. For the other half of them, Rogan represents the other side. So everyone's fighting for their team, and everyone's
just one guy with one opinion. And
humanity failed. Why
are we picking squads here?
This is a podcast that actually cheers you up.
This is we're all gonna die.com is our new website, and follow Bob.
I tweeted that like an hour ago too, by the way.
Oh, good. Hope you do that every day. That's good. That's the
I won't. It's not special that way. I'm gonna do it twice a week.
What do we call that? It's another part of Grapes. It's like Grapes demotivational posts. Do we have anything good for Grapes this week then, Bob? That's our question.
No, so we should definitely start.
Let's balance this out with some positive, and let's do our Grapes.
We ain't doctors, we ain't saviors. Now enjoy the fruits of your labor. Oh, yeah.
Boom, we are back with the Grapes.
I think you should start with G.
I think I should too.
For people that don't know, G is gentle with self. Grapes is an acronym, and we go through this acronym and look at our week. We're really supposed to do it daily and kind of tick off these things. G is to be gentle with self. So when you get up, you say something nice about yourself, something complimentary. We tend to always nitpick and say negative things to ourselves, and then those things get in our head and make us feel crappy. So instead, it's like starting your day with positive affirmation, saying something good, and that's the G. And that's the one Bob and I struggle with the most. It's a hard one after 12 or so episodes. How do you keep complimenting yourself, Bob?
Yeah, I don't like to do it.
It's almost like we should switch and start complimenting each other, which is not fair, but I would say that I love your shirt.
Oh, thank you very much. I really love
your hot rod shirt.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I didn't make it, but I bought it on Amazon. It's like an online.
You have great taste, though, Bob, and that's what I love about it.
I appreciate that. Well, for Grapes, for my G, I have great taste in T-shirts.
Yeah, I got you.
Wait a minute.
Set you up nicely there.
No, here's what I always do. This is my G for gentle with oneself. This is a good habit I have, and I recommend all of our viewers and listeners on YouTube and Podomatic respectively do the same. I always cut up the plastic 6-pack holders that will harm the fish and turtles and sea life if you don't cut them up. So sometimes I'll take a 6-pack of Diet Dr. Pepper, like right here.
Yeah, there it is.
There it is.
Yeah, that's the early appearance of the
right.
Diet Doc.
I didn't waste any. I wasted a lot of time, actually. But I like to cut up the plastic six packs because you don't want it to harm the wildlife, because there's like half the ocean is just garbage now, right? And you don't want to contribute to more garbage and death. So I don't like to harm the little fishies. I don't like animals or children to suffer the stupidity of man, if you will, and woman.
So the next step is to limit the single-use bottles like that Diet Dr. Pepper. We supposed to like use Soda Stream at home or something and make our own.
Well, if I'm
sodas,
using
drink it out of the palms of our hands and walk around.
dispute that. Let me argue with it. If I'm using the same one every week, that is more recycling than
absolutely.
Recycling.
There you go. You're reusing it.
There you go.
It's incredible. You have one bottle in that house. It's like the gods must be crazy. Everybody's got to share that. Well, that's a good G. I like that G. It's an appearance of Pepsi Blue.
Pepsi Blue. We're already rocking it. Maybe we're going to live after all. You know why? Because right now, if you go to your local Walmart, go into one of those cold, they don't have a six-pack. You can go into one of your freezers, Pepsi Blue at HTTPS, which is Hypertext Transfer Protocol Security, www.pepsi.com. It's port 440 on a TCP, ICP network, IP network, excuse me. And go to Pepsi Blue, put in a promo code Beachtown. Jesse, tell them what happens.
Absolutely nothing. But we want you to do it anyway, because maybe if enough inundation comes through with that Beachtown, that we'll get Pepsi Blue to take notice and really sponsor us for once, because we're still waiting on our first real sponsor. We actually had a bunch of fake sponsors at the beginning of the episodes, and then I got sick of writing those. So
my brother wanted me to tell you he loved the smart pants, the smart shorts.
Oh, smart shorts.
He likes the smart shorts. Oh, I forget. How are you doing for your G, Jesse? You're gentle with oneself.
Well, I was going to say that, I'm a pretty good writer. I wrote the smart shorts. I don't know if you remember, but some people enjoyed it. And your brother liked the smart shorts.
He did. He's a trucker. He drives a truck.
Yeah.
So it's like a big vehicle, and he transports goods to various facilities in his truck. And the truck has a lot of wheels and a lot of horsepower.
I'm glad he listens. That's really cool. I didn't expect that.
It is.
That's awesome.
I don't know how much exactly how many horses, but it's more than enough horses to cure Joe Rogan.
There it is. If you want to comment on that joke, make sure to do it on my Facebook thread that's been going on with arguments for days.
I'm going to now.
The G is always hard, but I'd say that pretty good writer. I wrote a pretty good script this week for an ad, and I'm excited about that because they finally are offering me a full-time position at this marketing company. So I'm so excited. I now have to use my writing to write an application and actually apply for this job now. And I'm working on my resume, which I'm attached to that. So I'm excited. So that's a little good news,
That's what I was trying to get out of you earlier. I didn't know if you wanted to talk about it or not. I was trying to squeeze that out of you. Yes, congratulations. Yeah. I'm so happy you got you.
Thank you. Well, it hasn't started yet. They could they could put a stop to it before it begins. But
fuck it then, I guess.
But hey, as of right now, I got the offer. It was finally emailed so that I can actually fill in this application, send it back, and hopefully start full-time in October. And then, I'll be able to have, more than 2 nickels to rub together. And
there you go.
If you do follow me on Twitter, you know that my dream isn't even to own my own home, but just to do laundry without quarters would be nice. You know, that would be a sweet deal. So I've been broke for, most of my life. I think the first part where I was, a bartender, that's on me because, I made plenty of money at Winston's, but it's that kind of black hole environment for money where we don't save it. You're in your 20s, you drink too much and you just waste it. We used to just give the money back and forth. It was like,
that's the fucking,
service industry people would come in, they tip us and we go see them, we're tipping them. And it's just like this cycle of wasteful behavior. But now that I'm not doing that anymore, hopefully I could save up a few bucks and maybe buy a new mattress for R.
Yes, indeed. R. Well,
R.
for
Rest
our,
and relaxation is R,
I'm
Bob.
sorry,
And I
I
know.
stumbled. Wait, I bumble fucked that whole thing up.
No,
Right
that's
there.
okay. Yeah,
I have a question.
Okay.
I have a comment. Really, this is
Oh,
more
excellent.
of a. I have a comment. This is from Boba Hicks in Ireland.
Oh, okay, great. I hope our whole podcast turns into a Q&A session with just Boba Hicks. It's just us and Boba, but I'm digging it, man.
But Boba is a wonderful lad. He sent me the a few weeks ago. I think I showed you the Masters of the Universe Origins figures for the Fisto and Evil Lyn characters. And,
what a generous fellow.
He is
very cool.
He is a gentleman and probably a scholar as well.
Yes. Well, cool. What's the second question?
He's definitely to date the smartest guy from Ireland I've ever met. I know one guy from Ireland.
I hope he didn't lose his cat in between questions, and this is going to be about that.
I certainly hope not, but we don't want people losing their minds. That's why we want them going to Beachtown every single week and enjoying this mental health podcast. This comment from Boba Hicks reads as such: my mental health tip that works for me: go to bed early and get up early as much as possible. I find that the longer I sleep in, the shittier I feel mentally when I get up. I make myself get up early even on days where I have nothing to do. And I even think that you should still try to get up early, even if you had a late night. Just power through and you'll sleep well later that night. So Boba Hicks is forcing himself to be an early riser, and that's working for him. I see his point. For you and me, ooh, that's a rough gig. But
it's a rough gig, but it's great advice, because he's absolutely right. Like, the longer you lay in bed, you feel like such a lazy piece of crap. And then you get up, half the day is gone, you've wasted it. And the thing about getting up early is you've already ticked off that A for accomplishment in Grapes. It's like your first big accomplishment of the day is just dragging your butt up at a reasonable hour. And then you're just much more effective all day because you get a lot more done,
Sure.
I think it's a tough one for us, especially, if you work in the service industry for the last 100 years and you're trained to be up late at night for gigs and things like that. Then it's like, I don't even really feel tired until 2 or 3 in the morning. And then, but I think the 9 to 5 regular job will change all that. So,
and it has been, because for the past 8 or 9 days, I've been a 9 to 5er. I've been an 8 to 5er again. And thankfully it's remote. I have a remote job, so I just change channels for people is all I do. I had to get that in. So, but those, I will stop, because that remote joke is pushing people's buttons. But, jokes.
They're gonna switch channels on us.
Indeed.
Mute us.
But I'll have to rewind. Like, that's stupid. Okay. But yeah, mute us is happening. That's happening all over YouTube right now. So I've been getting up at like 6:50 to 7 for the 8 o'clock, which is
pretty
enough.
Good.
That's good for me. Like, for me, that's pretty good. So I am feeling it in the middle of the day, but it is so much better for me because.
Do you mean that you start feeling tired in the middle of the day?
Yeah, I do.
Like what time? Like 1 or 2 or something like that. You start to drag.
Always after lunch.
Yeah,
because you eat that meal, and I'm pretty good because I've known this because I've been an office guy since I graduated college in some form or fashion. So I figured out eventually after the first 10 years of that like, oh, don't eat too much at lunch because you'll get extra sleepy. With that said, still very tired. It's really hard to keep my eyes open after lunch. So that 2:33 is
those 6 martini lunches that you have, Bob. That's the problem.
Indeed.
I never understood that, by the way. When you see like Mad Men or any of those shows, how did they go to lunch and drink like multiple cocktails and then make it back to work and actually function? Like,
well, it seems
like you and I would have lunch and then we'd need a nap, and that's without any cocktails,
Right. I think the thing about that show is those dudes didn't really do any work anyway.
Yeah.
Like, they were always just like, they would have that drunken lunch, but then they would come back and just have sexual relations with their various administrative assistants, with their generals.
Yeah, I think that was their job. It was either that or just smoking cigarettes was their job. I wasn't.
They would just smoke. Oh, and one guy. I started a sentence I shouldn't have. One guy hung himself in the office. There was that problem. But everybody else, and one guy peed in his pants. And then that, what's her name from the Handmaid thing, would make grimacing faces. And then Don Draper. I'm just doing At the Theater for Mad Men right now. And then
this is why I was taking this job in marketing, because I watched this and I'm like, this is all they do is smoke and drink.
I wanted to murder Don Draper at the last episode of that because for 7 seasons, we watched this good-looking guy with a lot of money, with his good-looking wife and the 7 or 8 good-looking women he had the sexual relations with, go back and forth from New York City to California, drunk the whole time, get away with all sorts of bad behavior, keep all his money, and then at the end, he's in sunny California, and he finds himself. Oh, good for him. I'm glad he's finally doing well. I wanted to kill that motherfucker. Like, why is he not dead? Someone should have slit that guy from asshole to earlobe.
This is not Breaking Bad. This is Mad Men. Anna described Mad Men for me the other day. She was like, it was compared to another show, but she was saying this show is kind of like Mad Men in that the whole time you think something's going to happen and nothing really ever happens, you know? And it's kind of like, yeah, I mean, what do they even do on Mad Men? There's some sex and some smoking, but
yeah.
You know, it's like Wolf of Wall Street. That's the answer. You know, when they go on those big martini lunches, then they do a whole bunch of cocaine and have to go back to work.
That would be it.
Then how the hell do you make any money if you're on cocaine and alcohol? Then
don't think they did. I think did they lose all their money?
I think they lost everything. Yeah,
they made like a few million really quick, and then lost like 100 million right after. Like, this is a terrible way to do anything.
Yeah, absolutely. What the heck letter are we on?
We're still on R. We're doing terrible right now.
My R has been awful.
Good.
So I got to buy a new bed. It's just, we got to get a new bed and a bigger bed. And, you know, Anna was talking about her sister's got this one of those crazy posturepedic things like Amir K talks about in his act, where it's like, I sleep like this and I lay like this. And you just like legs up in the air. And I don't know, maybe one of those adjustable with, you know, that sounds like that could be a fun situation. If you remember what happened in Naked Gun and things started eating OJ while he was in the bed.
Yeah. Also, Freddy versus Jason. It squished a guy, but it was like a less funny thing. It was the exact same scene with like different music, and that's what made it scary. I don't know. That's not important right now, I guess. I
love that scene. I love where OJ is trying to tell him about the drug bust, and
I'm glad you have a favorite. I'm glad you have a
this
favorite.
Is my favorite OJ moment.
I'm glad you have a favorite OJ moment.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on.
There's such a thing as being too positive. Okay.
OJ goes, no, heroin, Frank, heroin, and he's like, well, that's a tall order, Nordberg. You got to give me a couple days on that. I love that movie.
There's such a thing as toxic positivity, and I don't know exactly when you've reached it, but I think it's when you have a favorite warm and fuzzy O.J. Simpson moment.
It's my favorite O.J. moment.
It's like, oh, I'm sorry, can you not separate the artist at the point? Okay, because he separated some people from each other.
He did.
Pieces. Okay, accomplishment. We
no R. You can't skip your R. You got to get.
Did I skip? I'm waking up.
Did you do any R? Oh, you got it.
Waking up at 6:30.
You're waking up early.
And
then you're tired at lunch, and then you get into sleep earlier.
And then at 5 o'clock I eat dinner because I'm hungry, and then I'm about to nod off, but I force myself to exercise even though I have a hernia, and then I'm kind of just weirdly up, and then at midnight eventually I go to bed, and I'm probably up till 12:30 just trying to go to sleep.
That's not too bad. I mean, it's pretty good.
6.5, yeah, 6.5 a night. It's something.
Okay,
it's
getting there.
Yeah, it's progress. This is only my second week too, so yeah.
Right.
Gentle with oneself. Got to be gentle with oneself.
Got to be. I think our friend gave us some good advice there. That like even on the days off, if you get up early,
that's helping.
Yeah,
because I was instead of the old Saturday, Sunday, 11-ish. Now it's more like a 9:30-ish, maybe 10 at the latest.
Mm-hmm.
And I was because we had a Labor Day weekend here in the States. We had this past Monday off, so a 3-day weekend. You're always it's going to make you sleep a little bit more in too, because then you have less to worry about the next day. But I was pretty good at 10-ish. Like I was moving around and like, okay, this is better than I wasn't. But I think 9 should be the limit of like, hey, get up, idiot, and I'll enjoy the day more.
Get up, idiot.
What about that's going to be my alarm? Get up, it. Just me saying,
get up, idiot.
Just we're all gonna die. We're all gonna die. Accomplishment.
My accomplishment was just I didn't block you on Twitter, and I was going to.
Why would you block me on Twitter?
Well, not block, but unfollow, because I can't handle all the demotivation.
If you were to look at my feed, and count the "we're gonna dies" versus everything else that's so nonsensical. It's like 2% of we're all. It's like, come on, it's fine. Everyone, go follow me on Twitter right now. I'm gonna put the thing up
Follow
early.
Bob on Twitter and then tell me what you think, if it's motivational or demotivational.
It's perfectly fine. I think I'll be gentle with myself twice. I have a great Twitter.
You do. I that's why I didn't unfollow, because every random time when you tell a supermodel like, I have a hernia girdle, then it makes me laugh a lot.
Yeah.
And so
well, there you go. There you go. See,
accomplishments wise, though, very few this week. Like I say, I was under the weather, and
you weren't
can't say that I
so hot,
accomplished much, but I did a lot of shows despite that, and some of those were an accomplishment. I can go through the shows with you.
Please, because you had an interesting one I really want to hear about, but I want to hear about all of them.
There were some challenges, man, and any comic that basically is working to try to make rent off of stand-up knows that you pretty much will take any paid gig you can get, no matter where it is. So I've done some tough ones and I've done some really tough ones, but this past week I had some good and some bad. I did Pally Wine Company, which was an outdoor gig downtown San Diego. That one I thought was a lot of fun. I did the Inland Wharf Brewing Company in Murrieta, which was confusing because there's no wharf inland. So it was like, I had a little riff about like, this is like a land wharf, and off there, that's my truck boat. And I don't know, the whole thing about being confused by the inland wharf.
Where's
that one was
Marietta
interesting.
Again?
Marietta is northeast sort of here, and it's like not anywhere by the coast or anything.
Yeah, I guess where I got confused.
Yeah. But I don't know if I told you about that one last week, but that's the one where they had all of the different like Blue Lives Matter flags, and all of there was like a guy in a kilt that was talking about having a gun in his kilt, and like it was a very hostile environment to do comedy, and but I got a good laughs out of pointing that out of saying like,
what an unusual
this is the right environment for comedy, where you feel like everyone's trying to shoot you and all the flags are like, I hate you, like it felt like, they're going to be really receptive to my Black Lives Matter bits, they're not, but that was interesting. But
you've always heard that old joke, what does a Scotsman have under his kilt? Apparently it's firearms.
Yeah, it's lots of guns.
I didn't really know that.
We may find out later. I mean, the guy was like heckling Dallas, and then we find out later he's like a open mic guy. So he's like a comic who.
And by the way, Dallas is a person who does comedy. He's not heckling the city of Dallas.
He didn't heckle all of Dallas, Texas. That would have not gone well. But then I'd had one good show. I got to do the Laugh Factory San Diego, which was funny because there was a cancellation. So Tony Rock canceled, who's Chris Rock's brother. He's very funny and draws a lot of people. I don't draw shit, Lebowski. So, they call me in as a substitute. Probably not even me. I was probably a substitute for a substitute for a substitute. But I got to do 30 minutes and headline. And it was very exciting. And I thought it went well, even though you could sense some people were like, we're here for Tony Rock, so you're kind of like, what are you going to do? But it was a good show. It was kind of long. The host did a lot of time in between and things like that, but but we did it, and it was a sort of like super urban lineup, maybe because it was like all the local comics they were going to have for Tony Rock or something. So all the guys were like really playing that up, even though the audience was not, then so like when I went up, I was like, it's nice to be the diversity portion on this show. Like, I was like the token white guy on the show, but I thought it was really fun, and it was awesome to do the Laugh Factory. I did a show at Prohibition downtown in a really tiny little speakeasy room where I couldn't find the place at first. And I'm walking around on the sidewalk and it's just tons of people. And then you go down in this basement and it was extra COVIDy. So that was interesting. had a fun show there. And then this week I also had one of the worst shows that I can remember. Like, the circumstances were bad and I did bad. Like, I took the circumstances and then made it even worse. You know what I mean? Because I think I opened with thank you guys for coming out to the worst show we've all ever done. But it was outdoors at Liberty Station, like where people sit and gather to like eat the empanadas and stuff that they just bought inside. They peruse around, get a little like horchata and a little bao bun, and then they come outside and they're ambushed by our stupid comedy, right? And we're out on the lawn with no lights and no stage, and we're directly under the flight path, and so there's planes going by like, and you're like, let me just pause that setup and hold on and wait a second. And then right across the street from us, they had this big tent where they're doing a spin class. They're like, go now, spin, cycle, and so and then, by the way, I get an email the day of the gig saying there's going to be children there and it has to be absolutely clean and all the content. So, looking at the other comics, because they weren't really aware of that either. And Dewey Bratcher's on the thing, and I've never seen him be clean ever. So I'm like, what is going to happen?
That is the worst when promoters do that to you, like the day of, or when you get there, or whatever the hell it is. Like, don't, if you're going to, it's fine to book that show. If you want to run that show,
the show's always pretty clean. People. Like, the comedy, the umbrella that of shows that they do, they book me because I can work clean. So I'm already expecting to work somewhat clean.
Okay.
But not like outdoors in broad daylight in front of little children clean. Like there's church clean, little children clean, and then there's like, the cleaner set on the cruise ship clean or whatever. There's levels to this, and children makes it like G-rated level. You can't talk about a bunch of stuff. So but yeah, to get that email like the day of the gig and to already sort of show up and be like, oh my gosh, like we're performing like outdoors under the flight path in front of the spin class for an ambushed crowd with no stage and no lights and children.
How many uphill battles can we make?
How many, and
why do we have to have so many factors that makes it so? Let's do comedy in the worst possible place we possibly can and check all the boxes of shit you don't do.
So how do you think I responded to that? You think that I rolled with that and that I was super positive about it and I just had a happy-go-lucky attitude and everything was just plucky day? No, I was immediately like texting the guy putting it on like, I'm really regretting agreeing to this. And he's like, and I'm like, this isn't laugh. And you watch comic after comic just like dying in front of a firing squad up there.
Jesus Christ.
And I made it way worse. I could have done better than I did, I'm sure, but I started forgetting my jokes. I was in this like haze of negativity of like, I can't believe they make us do this, and I've got to do 30 minutes up there. And so I really, it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare experience.
Now you're being negative. I'm going to unfollow you on Twitter.
Yeah, but I didn't tweet about it. I wasn't like, I did comedy tonight and we're all going to die.
I might. Yeah. But that'd be hilarious.
I was going to, I bombed so bad. We're all going to die.
We're all going to die on stage anyway.
Yeah.
Everyone on the show is going to die on stage and have a terrible time.
So I think that's my accomplishment is getting through all these shows and I only kind of lost it on one of them, which was that one. The other ones, some of them were challenging, but I still kind of like did the job and didn't completely buckle under it. This one was one where it was like an implosion of just, oh my God, and I could have done worse. I could have bombed even worse. I still did the act, but it was a fractured, horrible version of it. So for anyone that was at Liberty Station, sorry. Anyway, that's my A, I think.
That was your A.
Yeah, I think that's my A. How about you, buddy? You got some?
My A is I wrote down a doctor's phone number. I haven't called him yet.
Nice.
But I wrote down the phone number of a doctor to look at my hernia. But then I got distracted.
Vinny Boombots.
Doctor, my doctor, Dr. Vinny Boombots. Yeah. I told him what I do. My teeth are yellow. He says, wear a brown necktie. But then I held off because I started looking up YouTube videos of people who have cured their hernia with different exercises and diet. And this is why we trailed off. But I was going to ask you, similar to what you were saying about the divertic And you always mention that you have to stop eating gluten. It looks like after I just went food shopping and bought all sorts of bread and bagels and pasta, which may or may not have gluten in them, we don't know. It looks
I don't know. For the record, I don't even know if it's gluten for me. I just know Anna's gone gluten free.
Okay.
And like that means I kind of go gluten free, and sometimes it seems I don't know if it helps. But anyway,
that's why I'm not in a relationship. That's the sole reason.
Because you don't want to sacrifice your amazing diet
right
plans.
Yes. So I pretty much, after I finish the food that I bought, I've pretty much got to go gluten free. No more double stuffed Oreos. A lot of my sugar's got to go.
Oh, yeah.
It's no more cheating with any regular soda ever. Now it's all diet, but it's been like 95% diet soda anyway.
Sugars, that kind of stuff for me is right out, because it just like causes inflammation and the whole thing goes.
Fortunately, it makes me inflamed too, but it's a different effect. My effect is the more inflamed it gets, the more the intestines want to push into the hole in my muscle. So LOL. I also have to avoid gluten now and inflaming my intestines and everything else.
We were going to call this podcast the Bubble Guts Boys podcast. We went with Beachtown just because it was less graphic.
We thought Beachtown was easier to stomach.
Yeah.
But anyway, as long as I'm here spilling my guts. So we go through them all. Yeah.
I don't know how many people can swallow, but we'll see.
No, they can't. They don't have the intestinal fortitude to pull it off like we do.
I don't.
But be that as it may. So I have to make these changes. So I wrote down a doctor's number, but I think really going through the exercises and starting those feels like more of an accomplishment in addition to my girdle. My hernia pain is pretty much under control. Like I don't have a lot of pain. That right testicle will get you. The right nut. That's what it'll get you. I call him my right hand man. That's my Riker right there. That's my
William
number.
Riker.
That's my number one. That's my right guy right there. Is my right.
That testicle always sits on chairs backwards, all weird, and
he sits on chairs backwards and flirts with Dr. Troy.
Has a very angular beard.
Yes, my right nut is what's the guy's name? William.
Jonathan Frakes.
Jonathan Frakes. Thank you. I knew there was an F on it.
William T. Riker.
That's right. Whatever the fuck is. Who cares? His name is. My right one is that's Riker, and I don't know what the left one is.
Well, if it's bald, I hope it's Captain Peter.
It's Captain. Engage. That's how I make them talk like that. Like, number one, make it so.
We used to have some terrible jokes about our balls. I remember in the old days of OBC.
We didn't get better, did we?
No, we were just remember there was stuff about grooming.
I still do that gender reveal joke.
I love that one.
Yeah, so.
I had one that was so stupid that was about like I don't wear Magnum condoms. I wear Magnum PI condoms.
Yeah.
I dress a little guy up in a Hawaiian shirt and a big mustache, and then I call my balls TC and Higgins.
Yeah.
One of them flies a helicopter. That's an old stupid joke.
My goodness.
Can't do that one at the G-rated church.
Yeah, because they don't know who Magnum PI is.
No,
and it's your testicles.
And it's
but anyway, let me do P right now, so I can eventually get. Because I took my background off, and I took my background off a little too early. I jumped the gun. But for pleasure, when I got my job a few weeks ago, I treated myself to this monstrosity behind you.
Oh,
this is Castle Grayskull.
Wow!
How cool is that?
That is super cool.
That is the coolest, and that's Fisto that Mark got me. So I'm loving this exercise.
That's awesome.
So I'm gonna make it's so cool because the way just each individual rock is sculpted so nice, and the way that the face looks, and it's so haunting. But
you know what's crazy about this too? Like that is Castle Grayskull is He-Man's castle, right?
Well, now you're in dangerous territory.
Because like you would think that would be Skeletor's castle from the look of it. It looks like a skull and it's very grim, but I feel like he gets the sword and his power and everything from Castle Grayskull.
Well, let me go through this real quick then. Okay, for those who don't know, both of our fans definitely already know this information. But
Okay.
but
Guys, just skip ahead like 3 minutes.
they won't. This is the best. I guarantee you, this is Chris and Mark's favorite part right now. They're not skipping it. They're pausing this, if anything, and they have this. They got it before I did. No, but so Castle Grayskull initially was designed by the toy makers in '81 to be a neutral headquarters that both sides fought for, where the power of the planet is all inside his castle, and He-Man and Skeletor and their respective teams, etc., would fight for it. But when the cartoon came around 82, 83, they changed it just because they needed to know where He-Man got his powers from. And they said, all right, you know what? Make the castle the thing that he guards. In the cartoon, he doesn't live at Grayskull. He lives in the palace, but Grayskull is what he defends. And Skeletor knows there's some good shit in here. He's always trying to steal it. He never really does. And they also figured out if Skeletor, the year later, could have his own place, Snake Mountain, now we can sell two big things instead of one. So
that's great. And
so
are you going to get? Is there a Snake Mountain that you can get?
Not in this line, and I wouldn't anyway. It's just too. There's no room for this. I cleared before we record these episodes. I have to change my whole apartment around. Right, it's like a big endeavor. So I have to spend like 15 minutes moving everything the way I have my computer set up and everything else. So I had to move stuff. I just wanted to have this on the show just once, just because it'd be cool.
That's amazing.
It is really cool. I love this thing so much. I'm so happy that Mattel, the toy company, put it in a very discreet box that in large letters says toys and Masters of the Universe Castle Grayskull in giant letters for the Amazon guy to leave outside the apartment.
I watched your unboxing video.
No, you did. Okay.
It was fun. And yeah, there's nothing discreet about it.
Not even close.
And maybe it'd be funny if they were like, well, let's try to keep it like so they don't know. Let's just put sex toys on it instead.
They should have, and it would have been less embarrassing. It just should have been like, well, I'm doing one of my bits now, but the box should have said 2 sex robots onto it. And I assemble them. So that's for pleasure. I've treated myself to a handful of nuggets and action figures and toys, but this would be the masterpiece of the little widgets I've treated myself to.
I hope that it will be featured in one of the G.I. Joe films too.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing.
It's just too cool looking not to use it.
It's going to be in both some G.I. Joe, the tail end of some G.I. Joe stuff, and I'm going to make my own Masters of the Universe episode. Rather than, I'm putting a positive spin on it. Rather than continue to be mad at Kevin Smith, I've always said, well, if you want it done right, do it yourself. So I will make my own He-Man big episode, maybe 30, 40 minutes. And rather than get mad about other people ruining it, I will just show you how I would do it instead of being an armchair. Well, here's what you should have done. Well, this way I can, instead of going, here's what you should have done, at least I can go, well, here's what I did do. And if you like mine, there it is. Have a good time.
That's cool.
There we go. We have the power.
That's a great pee. You took a good pee there.
Took a huge, good pee.
Mine's not as exciting. I watched What If, of course, and Anna and I have to trade off on our movie selection. So recently I was forced to watch Memoirs of a Geisha.
Memoirs of I've never heard of. I have no idea what that is.
Thankfully, it's 2.5 hours long, and when they sell you something as a rom-com and then there's no com, you feel a little bit ripped off. It's more of a rom trage. You know what it is? It is the story of Cinderella. So it's just a girl being abused basically for 2 hours. And then at the end, like something cool happens. So if you're into that, with no Disney fun or laughter, Memoirs of a Geisha, arguably boring and bad. And...
I think I would rather watch a CD-ROM. Nothing on it.
Rom-coms. I need the com. If you're gonna sell me on that ROM, because I don't care about the ROM. Okay, she's gonna watch this and I'm gonna be in big trouble. But
you're gonna have to watch that Queen of England show again or whatever that is.
The Crown. The Crown's another one, of course. That there's no com there. There's no trage either. There's really nothing. Anyway, so my pee, it's a light pee, but
that's good. It means you're hydrated.
Yeah, I did a lot of swimming. I've been, going
There
to
you
the
go.
pool, going to the Y. They changed the hours up a little because now people are back. Summer's over, and unfortunately, my 5 o'clock time to go swim right after, is now been pushed to 6:30. But still, I can get some laps in, and I'm trying to track them. So, I do 20 laps one day, and then 21. I'm up to 24. Doesn't sound like much, but for your boy, it's not bad. I mean, it takes me about a half an
It's
hour,
good.
and it's good for my cardio.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Anyway, so
Well,
that's what. And I wrote some stupid intro to an ad where I was like, are you tired of flash in the pan workouts and fad diets that don't work? And then the guy's on the phone going, cardio, I tried something new called carbio. I just eat donuts real fast, hope for the best. So
yeah. Huh.
probably it's not going to make it into the script, but
Wait, did you write the Carbio one?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I made a face. I thought it was somebody else who wrote it.
Well, then it won't be used. It was
I'm
someone
so
else.
sorry.
No.
I feel bad. Oh well.
But you've been exercising too, and you actually went in the pool a couple times in your own pool.
I've been doing the swimming in the apartment complex. I've been taking a dip in the COVID pool and enjoying all of that. But on Saturday, because my commander Riker was hurting me. This is going to be the thing now. I knew we'd find something. So
my William T.
I accidentally went for a hike. I went for a hike, and I got
accidentally.
Hiking is the fucking worst.
Yeah,
that
don't even
sucks.
get me started.
Never go hike. I recommend everyone who's looking for fresh air and a long walk. Yeah, don't go hiking anyway. No. Just do some. I going for a walk away from my apartment, just out the front door and back to the door. I love that.
Yeah,
I love that. And why was it that on a hiking trail I hated this passionately? There's a buzz in my ear. Even though I'm on a trail, I'm paranoid. I'm not going to find my way back and be stuck out there as the sun's going down. Like I just thought I was just going to die out there and just get eaten by coyotes or something.
I agree. Hiking's the word. It combines my two biggest fears. Heights and not sitting.
Yeah,
I hate it.
I was
saying in the act how much I hate hiking, that it's like you're trudging uphill endlessly and it's dusty and dirty and there's like snakes and bugs and hillbillies and stuff probably, and then you're just like, how far is friggin' Mordor? I always say, like, if I was Frodo in Lord of the Rings, like that movie would have lasted like 5 minutes because I would have like thrown that ring in the bushes and just been like, let's get out of here. Let's go back for second breakfast, Samwise. But yeah, I hate
done with that shit. Yeah, hiking was fucking worse. I just wanted to walk on a trail in some nature or some crap, and I thought I was going to a lake, but it wasn't really. It was a bunch of hiking trails, and I thought, well, I'm here, and I'll walk around, and that 30, 40 minutes, I thought I was out for 3 hours. And I'm on the junior trail, and I keep having to hike up. I'm hiking. The only thing I'm hiking up is I'm hiking up my girdle. I'm hiking up my girdle. I'm hiking up my girdle. Yeah.
Oh man.
My God.
You got some pretty good exercise in still, despite the girdle problems.
I'm sweating in here pretty good. I'm exercising. I'm moving
around. What about it's a steam room in there. What about what about the tough one, the social? I mean, I don't know if you've been out and done some shows. I went through all my weird shows this week. Did you have the store?
Yeah.
Did you have a big set at the store?
Yeah, a little over a week ago, I had a 15-minute set for the Comedy Store, the whole way, 916 Pearl Street, 858-454-916. That's reservations.
Don't park at Vaughn's.
Don't park at Vaughn's. It's 2 drinks per person. So I went there, and it was good. It was good. It was a nice, good long set. Who did I socialize with? I mean, I talked to. There were less comedians on it. I can't say it was a lot of great socialization because we are still really staying away from each other and everything else. I don't even know if I'd really count that as social. I did get cornered by a few people I didn't feel like talking to, so I mean that was good for their social. I think they could use that for their ass. I don't think it did me any favors.
Yeah.
I started a routine of loudly and probably making my neighbors nervous of loudly saying hello to the lizards. I do this. I do this weird little voice. I go, the lizard will stay still until you get within like 3 feet because he thinks you can't see him. And I go, hello, Mr. Lizard. How are you? How are you, Mr. Lizard? Okay, you have a good day. Okay, bye-bye. I see you later, Mr. Lizard. I don't know why, just because I'm sure it just creates a thing. So I think I'm enjoying those conversations most of all.
Really antisocial. I think you and I both just have avoided people that so
Well,
weak.
I'm a new remote employee, and that's really odd. So
Yeah.
I'm talking to all these people, and we never do video things, which is great. But so everyone is just blinking initials to you. That's all they are.
Mm.
And despite that, between me and the young women who are doing our training, a lot of sexual tension between the two.
Yeah.
All of it, granted, all of it coming from me. A lot of sexual tension.
All on your side.
So much sexual. And if there's any more sexual tension, I'm gonna have to complain to somebody because it's unprofessional. But again, yeah, it's all coming from me. But it's still not professional. I will have to complain to someone about the sexual tension.
Well, we definitely fell down on our social. I didn't do any socializing.
Oh,
in fact,
fuck it.
It sounds like you were trying to push people away by talking to lizards, and
right.
I mostly socialized with cats this week. So,
who else is a lizard? The Queen of England.
Queen of England, absolutely. And you can see that on The Crown. I think, Bob, it's time for my favorite part of the show, and of course, this is the part where I get to sit back and chill, and you guys get to hear about a brand new movie from like 1985 or sometime. So if you guys are ready, and if you're ready, Bob, it's time for At the Theater.
Popcorn and previews, movies and reviews at the theater. At the theater.
All right, Jesse, we are back, and At the Theater is brought to you by Mango Pepsi. Enjoy the super fruity, good taste of Mango Pepsi. Never mind, who cares? You know what to do. Today we are talking about Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2, oddly not from 85, this is from 2005. One of the second newest movie I think we've ever done. This movie, I enjoyed it almost as much as I enjoyed Pepsi Zero Wild Cherry, which you go to Pepsi.com and okay.
You have so many Pepsi products.
Yes, I do.
You're probably the only person that when you go out to a restaurant and you order a Coke and they say, "We have Pepsi, is that okay?" You go, "It's more than okay."
You have no idea.
It's so okay.
Because to me, that's rebelling against a big corporation. Okay, it's Pepsi. Okay, so we're talking about the 2005 comic book sequel. This is before the famous Marvel universe that we know today existed, really.
Yeah.
Which is always something to keep in mind. I think people forget that when they watch some of these movies. This was Spider-Man 2 from 2005. Okay, Tobey Maguire is a clueless putz. When do we want to record? Are we doing the theater now?
Yeah, we can start now.
Okay, this is my new favorite gag at the theater. Okay, so anyway, we are over an hour in, so we got to go.
Yes.
We got to go. Okay, Spider-Man 2. Tobey Maguire is a clueless putz, and he can't keep a job. He's got spider powers, and we already know because his origin's already been established. Thank God, because his Uncle Ben, who made rice, died in a car because he couldn't beat Randy Savage or something. And then, so anyway, that was the last movie. So now Tobey Maguire is stupid, and he has all these superpowers, but he can't deliver pizza, right? He's just fucking up pizza. And he's got a guy who's yelling at him because when he goes to deliver pizza, he stops to save lives and help the cops, which is nice of him to do, but also he's costing himself his own job. And then he goes to school, and his professor is like, "You're really smart, but you're failing. How is that possible? You're like a young genius." And he's like, I suck at pizza or something. And then the professor's like, "I have to fail you soon. You realize you're stupid." And then he goes and and then he loses his job. He gets fired because he takes the pizza to the secretary, but forgive me, receptionist or administrative assistant. I apologize. He takes the pizza to the dumb bitch who is hungry.
That's not it.
Yeah, and then he gets out of the broom closet because he's changing out of his Spider-Man uniform, and she doesn't think it's weird that the pizza delivery guy went into this giant corporation's janitor closet, and he comes out and she points to the thing and says, "You're late. You're over a half an hour late. I'm not paying for these." And he just says nothing and gives her the food, and then he leaves, and then he gets fired. And then he has a surprise birthday party, and the only people at his party are his Aunt May, who is 1,000. Aunt May is 1,000 years old in these films. Do you remember this? She wasn't like hot like in the new ones. She was Aunt May is her pet turtle ran away from her in one of the deleted scenes. She is so God said, "Let there be light." She was already there. Fucking Aunt May is so old. Abe Lincoln had the day off on her birthday. Aunt May is she's so goddamn old. So Aunt May is old, and then the birthday party has James Franco being and he's with Kirsten Dunst, and she's got red hair, and it's just the three of them at his birthday party because he forgot it's his birthday, and so anyway. Sometimes James DeFranco makes offhanded remarks about Tobey Maguire being friends with Spider-Man, who killed his dad in the last movie. And Peter Parker's like, "Oh, come on, man, let it go." And no, he's kind of upset about it, quite frankly. But anyway, Kirsten Dunst, and it looks like her and James DeFranco were dating, but not really. No one really knows. And then anyway, Aunt May falls asleep or something because she's so old. And then Peter Parker apparently still lives next to Kirsten Dunst, which is really stupid because she's a famous actress now. Ever since the last movie, she's got her name and her face all over billboards because she does a bad English accent in some play. And Peter keeps saying he's going to go to her play, but he doesn't. And then they take out the trash at the same time. And she's like, "Hey, aren't we supposed to date at some point?" And he's like, "Duh, I'm going to go to your play." And you know he doesn't, right? Because he gets caught saving people. He doesn't go to the play. And Harry Osborn is like, "Hey, you know what? You have to write a paper on Otto Octavius." And he's like, "Yeah, well, it turns out I'm giving that guy a lot of money to make a bomb or I don't know what the fuck." So anyway, he goes to see Otto Octavius, who's played by some artsy actor. I forgot his name. But anyway, so the thing goes awry, and the arms, for some reason, the mechanical arms with their own brains that the doctor infuses into his spine, for some reason, the thing went wrong. And him and his wife are crazy hippies that always talk about like how much they love each other, which I think was an SNL skit with Will Ferrell and what's her face. So they basically just do that, but they don't play it for laughs. And it's really weird that the scientist is talking to Peter Parker about love and stuff. But then the explosion makes the glass, I guess, cut Dr. Octopus is eventually is his name. It kills his wife, and then they have a bunch of surgeons trying to save Octavius' life. But the inhibitor brain chip is broken, so now the metal tentacles are killing all the doctors. And for all the people who go on about how dark and sad like DC is, they're right. But there is so much death and gore and implied decapitations and beheadings in this fucking movie. And this is 20 minutes in, right? And he can't deliver pizza. So anyway, there's doctors flying all over the place, and Otto is just killing people. But then the brilliant scientist, Otto Octavius, decides, "Hey, I know what I'll do. I'm going to go to this dock that everyone knows where it is, and then I'm going to go rob a bank, like physically rob a bank. Like in 2005, people were still doing that." But he does that, and he goes to rob the bank, and there's Tobey Maguire's the clueless putz and Aunt May, who's so old. And then they can't get a loan, and they're supposed to get a new toaster, but they didn't even qualify for and who gets a toaster at a bank in 2005? The same people who rob it. None of that shit existed even back then. It was wrong. And then so the Tobey Maguire runs away, and then but Spider-Man, of course, saves Aunt May from Doc Ock, and the evil newspaper guy says, "Hey, I'm going to call him Dr. Octopus or whatever." All the people in that whole group that used to be in all the Xena movies, the guy who played Autolycus and Jockster and all the motherfuckers, the Raimi people, they're all in these things. And the guy who played Bruce Campbell in one of the Ash movies or something, he was the usher, I don't know. And Tobey Maguire can't get into the play. And then she sees and she forgets her lines because she's not a professional actress after all. Because one seat is empty in the third row and she assumes that's him. Like, that could be fucking anybody. What a dumbass. But anyway, so she messes up the lines, and then so he realizes he's not a hero, and then he feels guilt. And Peter Parker confesses to Aunt May that the day that the Rice uncle died, then he couldn't beat Randy Savage, that he was a coward, and that he let the guy run away because the guy who ended up killing Uncle Ben was the guy who robbed the guy who screwed him out of the money. But I mean, how could he have known? But I don't know. But anyway, Aunt May's a little annoyed. And then Aunt May is moving out, and she threw away his comic books or something like that. And then, so Peter Parker, meanwhile, is losing his powers, and he's falling off of buildings. He's like, he doesn't know why. Yeah, he's not surprised. So he gets mad, and he throws the Spider-Man suit like in the garbage, but for some reason he only half-ass throws it out and it's still half sticking over a garbage can. Like he wouldn't bury that shit like in a bag and then in a bag and like no, he did it the most half-ass way possible because he screws up everything. But now he's not Spider-Man, and he goes to the play, and Kirsten Dunst likes him, and then he doesn't. I don't know what happened with the pizzas. He doesn't get that job back, but he's passing the classes. He's raising his hand. He's answering questions, and he's also so happy. But now there's a burning building, and he doesn't have any spider powers, and he runs in to save a baby from the burning building, which is great. But then the fireman, he overhears the fireman say, "Hey, there's 4 other dead people. We just couldn't get to them." And he realizes he could have saved all of them if he had his powers, right? Because he's feeling guilt about telling Aunt May he wasn't really a hero. Because Aunt May thinks that Peter Parker let her almost get killed by Doc Ock and killed the Uncle Rice guy. So he can't take any credit for anything. And he's a putz, and every time he has to go take pictures. But now Kirsten Dunst is engaged to the new evil newspaper guy's son, and he has to deal with it. And even though he goes to the theater and she sees him in the play, and she forgets her line again because she's a shitty actress.
Oh my God.
And then they're at a coffee house, and then he's like, "Hey, well, we should be together or whatever." And then she's like, "I don't know what the hell. I'm still marrying this guy." She's like, "I'm already engaged. You can't undo my wedding, you fucking guy, because we have some nice conversations while we accidentally take out the garbage at the same time." Right? And then Dr. Octopus realizes Peter Parker is whatever the hell, Spider-Man. Thank you for that. And he kidnaps Kirsten Dunst, and Peter Parker's fighting, and he's fighting Doc Ock, and he's fighting Doc Ock. And then all of a sudden, Doc Ock knows how to fuck him, right? There's an above-ground train, right? There's an above-ground train, above-ground subway. So it's not a subway, but we still call it that if you live there. And they never tell you where exactly this above-ground train in Manhattan is, because Manhattan does not have an above-ground train, by the way. That part's bullshit. But I think they were suggesting they were on the 7 train in New York, in Long Island City, which is right on the other side of the river. That's the only place you would have an above-ground train, and it wouldn't be going towards Astoria. But then again, on the other hand, it would have to be going towards Brooklyn, because I think I saw Bay Ridge at the end of the thing, which is not where the train would be. That's just a destination. So it probably went. He fought Dr. Octopus on top of the train.
This is the least realistic part of the film.
No, I'm going to tell you the least realistic part of the film at the end of this. So this is the second least realistic part. Like, where the fuck is this train? But I think they're going from the 7 train with Long Island City all the way to the end of Brooklyn. But that doesn't make any sense, because right at the top of where Queens becomes Brooklyn, it goes underground, and they would have had to take the G and waited for a half an hour without fighting each other, because the G is always late, and that's underground anyway. So that makes no fucking sense. I don't know where this train is or ever was, and it wasn't there in 2005. Anyway, Doc Ock fucks up the brakes. Spider-Man, he rips his pectoral muscles apart, shooting the 2 windows, and he's holding on, and he's holding on, and he's about to fall, and then the people grab him, and they take his mask off, and they go, "He's just a kid. What the fuck? He's a kid." I don't know what the fuck. And then the kids give him a mask, and they had no cell phones, because at the time in 2005, they probably still should have all had cell phones. But anyway, Dr. Rocket's back on the train, and thankfully Peter Parker's the mask back on. And he's going to get Spider-Man. And that's when Joey Diaz shows up. And Joey Diaz says, "Dr. Octopus, I kidnapped the motherfucker. I got a gram of cocaine in my ass, motherfucker." It's like, what the fuck?
It's Dr. Octopus, cocksucker.
This cock, Joe Rogan.
Rogan.
I got friends with Joe Rogan. He takes fucking horse pills.
He's got worms, Joe Rogan.
So I don't know why that part happened, but
that's the best part.
That is the best part right there. Yes. So, okay, fuck me. So they have a big fight, right? They have a big fight. The docs, we have to fast forward here a little bit. And Dr. Octopus figures out Spider-Man can't stop the bomb. And Octavius, he's coming back to the good guy that he used to be. So he pretty much devours the bomb with his tentacles. And Kirsten Dunst realizes, she sees Peter Parker with the mask ripped up. And she goes, "Holy shit, you're Spider-Man. We got to be together. I love you." Yada, yada, yada. And he's like, "I don't know if we can still be together, because my enemies are going to know." And which is kind of silly, because one of his enemies is dead and his other enemy is killing himself right now. So it's kind of like, not really. You could just do whatever you want. You have powers. You could have kept your job and been good at school and still dated the girl you had a crush on this whole time, you idiot.
He's just a real fuck up in this movie.
He sucks. So anyway, he lets the cops rescue Kirsten Dunst. And then Kirsten Dunst has a wedding, but she stands up the newspaper guy's son at the altar, and she shows up in the dingy apartment with the Russian landlord who really hates Peter and always wants to rent but never evicts him, which is the third least believable part of this movie. And And also, what a dumbass! You don't live in Manhattan, you idiot. If you live in Queens, you stay in Queens, and if you're going to work in Manhattan, what were you going to afford in Manhattan anyway? A shitty apartment without your own bathroom, and once in a while, a Russian girl brings you cake. That's the best thing you're going to get, you idiot. Stay in Queens and take the fucking train, the one you saved. No, doesn't know what he's doing. So she shows up in a wedding dress at his dirty apartment, and I guess they think they're going to be together. I really forget. But he's like, oh shit, there's an ambulance. And then he runs out and he goes to the ambulance. And the number one least believable part of this movie, I just lived in Queens for 8 years. I did not see one white teenager. Least believable part. So I am all for diversifying the role of Spider-Man. For anyone who complains, why do they have to change Spider-Man's race? Go to Queens.
Queen. So they should. They really should.
Judging by any part of Queens, Spider-Man should be the Middle Eastern son of a landlord that doesn't work and has an SUV and smokes at the hookah lounge all day long and doesn't do jack shit. That should actually be Spider-Man.
Is that
by default
major demographic of Queens?
Oh yeah, it's disgusting. What a dump. What a dump. But that, in a nutshell, with all those least believable parts, Joe Rogan is Spider-Man 2.
And Spider-Man 2, I remember Steven always playing it up, saying, Joe Rogan's coming from Spider-Man 2, right? What was the story, Bob?
We heard it for weeks. It probably felt like months. Weeks and weeks. Spider, we got to remember, because he's from Spider-Man 2. We have some real credits coming to Ocean Beach. Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 2. Gets up there. Big moment. Place is packed.
He's getting ready to introduce him, right?
Put your hands together from Superman 2. Joey Go-Go Diaz.
Oh gosh. And Joey didn't care or notice.
I don't even think he noticed. Yeah,
it's so funny.
That was Spider-Man 2.
That was amazing. So Bob, can you give us it was a fantastic synopsis. I mean,
thank you.
Unquestionably, you hit on all definitely the most important parts of the film. And can you give us a sort of a one sentence overall review of your bottom line it for us here? Give us a bottom line review of Spider-Man 2.
Just one all-encompassing, just one ball of wax.
Sort of how you rate it and review it all in one kind of like, what's your overall take on the film?
Okay, if I had to write my own tagline for the trailer, critics say this, critics say that, right. I would write, arguably, the greatest film ever made.
Wow. That is incredible. High praise for Spider-Man 2, arguably. And thank you so much for that fantastic synopsis and review. It was really good, Joe Rogan. So we want to thank everybody for tuning in and checking us out. Please check us out. We have a Patreon. You can probably get in that. I don't know.
I'll think of something. I'm thinking, guys.
Yeah. But in any case, until that happens, just rate us, review us, and share us with a friend. And if you have any more questions for us, make sure you send those in to Bob so that we can, or message one of us, and follow Bob on Twitter and get motivational tweets.
Yeah.
Like we're all going to die.
Well, I tweeted earlier today, sorry to make this longer. I tweeted earlier today, if I were in G.I. Joe today, if I were a member of the G.I. Joe unit, my code name would be Downtime.
Nice.
Because all I'm doing as my remote job is being like, all right, and wait, and wait, and wait. That would be my guy, Downtime.
It does sound like a G.I. Joe.
It totally sounds like one, yeah. Like, that guy, he's not very effective. Every time we see him, he's just kind of chilling out by one of the big vehicles, by one of the Tomahawks or one of the whales. Like, you guys, they know what that is, yeah. And he's just chilling, just just shooting shit.
Well, thank you for listening or watching, whichever you guys are doing. We appreciate you supporting the Beachtown podcast. It's a mental health podcast where Bob gets to vent about how much he hates New York City. And we appreciate you guys tuning in every week or whenever we put it out. I've been Jesse Egan. You can follow me or find me on all social media at Jesse Egan Comedy. My other podcast is Awful Neutral, and my comedy special is That's the Spirit on drybarcomedy.com. Where can people find you and follow you on Twitter and etc., Bob?
They can find me in my studio apartment right by Castle Grayskull. Just not going. Yes. I am on Twitter at Bob Hanson Jokes, of course. Instagram at Bob Hanson Jokes. More importantly than following me, follow Beachtown Comedy to get the update as soon as possible to know when Podomatic for our audio listeners and YouTube for our poor visual listeners have to look at us. that's where you get all the latest updates. So by the power of Grayskull, Beachtownians, you have the power. We thank you very much.
I have the power. Thanks, everybody.